Good morning. Thank you for those of you who have already joined us. I just wanted to let you know we will probably be getting started in a minute or two to give additional attendees time to log in and get settled. At that point, I will provide a short presentation, and then I will be joined by Professor Geza Botwick, the director of our engineering management program, who will talk about the program, and we will end up with a Q&A session with a couple of our graduate students in that program. So please stand by. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. Thank you very much for joining us for today's webinar. I'm going to go ahead and get started, so give me a second to share my screen here. So congratulations on your admission to USC. We have a very competitive admission process, so you should definitely be congratulating yourself on being admitted to USC. I'd also like to welcome you to the Trojan family and to Southern California and the University of Southern California. So let's start out with a little bit on our USC Viterbi School of Engineering. We currently have about 6,300 graduate students. We have about half as many undergraduate students. We are currently ranked number 12 for graduate engineering programs in the US, and this is according to US News and World Report. We have about 76,000 engineering alumni. They are all over the world. And quite honestly, that is one of the strengths of USC, is that we do have a very strong and active alumni network. We are a top ranked research school as well, and we have about $213 million in annual research expenditures, as well as 38 research centers. In point of fact, we've actually just added a couple more research centers this year, so we're actually up to 40 research centers. And we do have 17 full-time tenure track NAE, or National Academy of Engineering members. And given everything else, we are indeed a leader in funded research. This kind of gives you an idea as to basically what you're coming to. In addition to USC, we are located in Los Angeles, which really is a global hub for innovation. This just kind of gives you a few of the companies that are around here: Facebook, Microsoft, SpaceX, Google, YouTube. There are a whole bunch of companies. And this area here is often referred to as Silicon Beach because it is one of the fastest growing entrepreneurial tech hubs in the world. For those of you that might be interested in getting involved in medicine, or maybe doing some research with USC in that area under your particular major, our Keck School of Medicine is the one school that falls outside of the main campus, but we do have tram service direct So career opportunities in engineering management. Here you can see just a few of the companies that have hired our students. They are, again, all over. I mean, this just happens to be one of the companies outside of the US, and then China Petroleum as well. But as you can see, it is a wide-ranging set of companies, everything from things like mortgage companies to Raytheon, consulting companies like Deloitte. So, just be aware that there are a lot of opportunities within engineering management when it comes to that. California is one of the top paying, and we are the #1 state with for employment levels in engineering managers, management analysts, and technology analysts. And Los Angeles is actually the #1 metropolitan area with the highest employment level for engineering managers. So at least as far as location goes, especially if you want to be here in Southern California and in Los Angeles, USC is a great school to come to because we have a lot of ties to the local industry. And then here are just some sample positions. We have an extremely diverse student population. This just is kind of a visual representation of how wide-ranging our student population is. We are working very hard to increase the number of both students that are underrepresented in the STEM fields, as well as women within our graduate engineering. One thing that Viterbi is actually very proud of is that a couple years ago, we actually did reach parity between men and women in our freshman class. So 50% of our freshman engineering students a couple years ago were women, and we've maintained either that or very close to that in every subsequent year. You do have the ability to chat with some of our current students. We have graduate student ambassadors. Currently, there are more than 15 students. They are coming from relatively diverse backgrounds, including engineering management. So you can I would definitely recommend getting in touch with them to get basically the student perspective on both the engineering management program, USC, and Los Angeles in general. And you can see the URL for getting to their page right here. And just so you know, you will be getting a copy of this presentation. So you don't need to jot down any of these URLs. You will get them. So speaking of URLs, here are a few others that you can use to basically get to know USC a little better virtually. We have a virtual tour that can be done either using a regular computer. There is also a 3D version that you can access if you have VR goggles, and it's set up basically to use with your phone. You can explore student organizations and cultural communities using this. So you'll see campus labs here and some information on diversity within our Viterbi school here. We definitely take safety and student wellness very seriously here at USC, and you can learn more about that here. And then finally, if you are an international student, the majority of our international student services are handled by our Office of International Service. So you can find out more about that at ois.usc.edu. There's a lot of information there also about I-20s and the visa process and things like that. So if you have questions or concerns about that, this is a good place to start out. Some housekeeping, deadlines. So if you are an international student and you have not yet submitted your financial documentation, April 15th is the last day to submit that. So make sure you do that if you have not done so. do keep in mind that submitting the financial documentation does not commit you to coming to USC, but is absolutely essential to get that, that official admittance to USC. And then May 1st is the last day to submit the statement of intent and the $500 commitment deposit by USC. So this is May 1st is for all students, and this is actually where you will let us know whether or not you are coming to USC. So some reasons to submit the statement of intent earlier rather than later. It does give you access to PreOrientation Resources. If you would like to be part of our mentorship program, once you've submitted the statement of intent, you can join the mentorship program. You can connect with the departments. They have academic webinars and you will receive invitations to those. If you are planning on being one of our online Dennett Viterbi students, you'll be able to complete your Dennett Viterbi profile. And then finally, for those of you that will be that will need housing, you can explore housing options at that time. And housing at USC is just housing.usc.edu. Our office can be contacted through an online form, which you can find here. We are happy to answer any additional questions you may have. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to to Professor Geza Botlick, who is a professor within the Industrial and Systems Engineering Department and is also the director of the MS in Engineering Management program. But let me go ahead and stop the share here. And it looks like the professor has not yet joined us. So what I'm going to do is, while we wait for him, I'm going to go ahead and ask, we are lucky enough to have two of our current MS in Engineering Management students join us today. So I'm going to go ahead and ask them to unmute their mics and open up their cameras, and we'll go ahead and just ask, basically start a Q&A portion right now to cover some of that. So Ryan, let's go ahead and start with you. You want to tell us a little bit about your background, maybe why you decided on the engineering management program, and maybe a little about what you want to do once you graduate?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
All right, perfect. So hello, everyone. My name is Ryanhugh. I'm about halfway through my engineering management program. I started in the spring of last year, and hopefully we'll finish in the spring of next year. So I'm actually a little bit on the older side. I spent about 11 years after graduating with my undergrad degree. I'm in the U.S. military, and I'm a pilot in the U.S. military and also kind of an engineering manager as far as aircraft maintenance goes. So kind of part of the career progression of most military officers is at some point you'll pursue a advanced degree. Having an undergrad degree in mechanical engineering, I kind of wanted to stay within the managing discipline, but kind of get more into the management side, since that's what I kind of do practically. I haven't really done much in the way of technical stuff with my undergraduate degree. So I thought an engineering management degree would be pretty useful for both what I do in my current profession, and then when I'm looking to start my second career after I retire the military. And I happen to be stationed in the Southern California area, a little bit further north in Ventura County, about halfway to Santa Barbara. And then just looking at all the programs knowing that I would predominantly be doing it online, USC offered a very competitive online program through their DEN program, in which there's no distinguishing between an online degree and an in-person degree, which I found to be very appealing as far as networking for future jobs and everything like that. And I have to say, after experiencing it for going on 3 semesters now, it's very engaging the way the program works as far as doing online classes in concert with other students who are in person, and the interaction is very seamless. I know in my current 2 classes, I'm in 2 group projects, and I guess with all the technology we have today between Zoom and all the other applications that you can use. It makes it for a pretty seamless learning process to feel like you're still kind of getting the full USC experience. So things I hope to do kind of afterwards. I'm very much into the aerospace industry. I don't know what that would pertain, whether it be working in aerospace defense or something like that, but USC seems to be very competitive in that respect. I know a lot of my fellow classmates who are kind of part-time students, a lot of them work in aerospace and defense. So it seems like obtaining an engineering management degree will also make you very competitive in that particular industry.
Great, thank you very much, Ryan. How about you, Piyush?
Hey, hi guys, my name is Piyush and I'm originally from Pune, India. And I did my undergrad in mechanical engineering and worked in India for about 8 to 9 months in product management. The reason I chose to do engineering management is that I wanted to shift my fields from mechanical engineering to product management. And I just felt that the whole course and the freedom that you have in choosing electives here at USC really helps you in switching fields from any field to any field that you want to get into. I decided to choose USC because amongst all my other admits, I just wanted to be in a big city, and Los Angeles really is a great city to live in. And that the reason was that I wanted to be as close as possible to the Silicon Valley because that's where I found that most of the jobs for my field lies in. And after graduation, I hope to work as a product manager or as an APM here in California.
Great. Piyush, is this your first semester, or I should ask, what semester are you in?
So this is my third semester. I also started with Ryan in last spring, and I'll graduate in this December, sorry.
Okay, so you actually started in the spring semester?
Yes.
Okay, so are you planning on doing an OPT internship? I guess it would be this summer, correct, for you?
So I'll be using my CPT this summer and OPT from next January.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Ryan, I know you're one of our DEN students, and you talked about it a little bit. Can you elaborate a little bit on how basically the projects work when you're working remotely? And Piyush, I'd like to hear from you as well, and what it's like to work with distance students as part of project teams.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess in some ways, working remotely is kind of the new normal. So USC is kind of preparing for that as well. So on a lot of my projects, it seems like the professors make a pretty concerted effort to kind of combine full-time students and then students who are also out in the professional world because they can kind of bring some real-world experience to that. So normally in the projects we had there, you get assigned a group, and then it's kind of on the group to kind of figure out how they want to coordinate on their own using a lot of the different commercial technologies that are out there via Slack, Zoom, Google Shared Drive, anything like that. But from what I found, it's very in line with what people and companies are doing in the real world as far as kind of coordinating all that sort of stuff. So it gives you a lot of real world experience of how to work in small teams and go through different processes. There's a lot of interesting classes that kind of address that directly, whether it's project management or management of engineering teams. It kind of gives you a little bit more of a formalized guide to work through that process as you're going through it. So, but the technology is pretty seamless. DEN is a very awesome platform. The website is very easy to use, and the professors are very flexible for people who are full-time as far as if you can't make classes live or anything like that. There's a lot of flexibility kind of built in the system to make sure that the learning experience is tailored as much as it can be to each student.
Great, thank you.
I think we pretty much covered everything about working with DEN students. The fact that I like about USC is most of the professors, if you are registered in a course which has a DEN section and has a project, kind of make it compulsory for you to gel with other students, make their own groups, and have at least 1 or 2 DEN students in your project team. This, as he pointed out, this really helps you get to know how you work in the real world, because when you go out working in a company, you know that not every member of your team will be located in the same location. So you kind of start getting that experience from projects here at USC only. And again, as I pointed out, 10 students are mostly people who are currently working in the industry. So the insights they bring in, the knowledge they bring in our group projects is really helpful to learn and just build a better project.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we have a student that's been asking kind of about the custom tracks. And I know that engineering management has got some basic tracks as well as allowing students to kind of customize to meet their specific needs. Can both of you talk a little bit about how that's been working for you and how you work with the advisors and such to kind of decide on your track or how you're going to specialize the program to meet your particular interests?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about it. So the engineering management degree in particular is very good that it very specifically kind of lists out all the course requirements to meet the degree. So what I basically did is I kind of just went on following that guide and just kind of picked 2 classes a semester. And then based on what kind of interests me between the 3 tracks, which I think is management, technology, and analytics, if I'm not mistaken. And I kind of just build my own track there. And then this past semester, since I was halfway through, I scheduled an appointment with one of the advisors just to make sure that I was checking the right boxes and everything like that and was on track to complete all my requirements by the time I wanted to kind of complete them. And I think I'm kind of more geared towards the management side of things just because that kind of interests me a little bit more. As far as like the creating your own specific track, I'm not sure the exact process, but again, just with my experience, it seems like everyone's very open to you getting the best experience you can here. So professors and your advisors will definitely work with you to create a program that makes the most sense for you and also provide you with all the tools you need to receive a degree.
Okay, I think I can better answer that question because I am doing a custom track right now. So the question was what makes you eligible? I think all the students are eligible to do a custom track here at USC. The only requirement that you want to do is that you have to complete your core courses and 1 elective from analytics and 1 elective from the technology and management side. So the rest 4 electives, you can pick whatever you want from Viterbi and Marshall, as long as those courses have a seat in it. The only thing that you have to do is you have to kind of just consult with the advisor once and let them know that we are going to do a custom track. And the earlier you do it, it's completely better because when you let them know, you can really start taking electives right from your first semester and then build your custom track as you want.
Great. Piyush, I'm going to have you answer one more question, and then we're going to, I think I'm going to move to Professor Botwick to have him do his. But we did actually have a student that specifically is asking you to talk a bit more about the curriculum, taking into consideration product management and the job opportunities regarding the same.
Okay. So, with respect to the curriculum, I'll tell you that there's no course here at USC that directly teaches you product management, but there are a lot of courses here in both in Viterbi and Marshall that you can take up as electives and learn the skills that you need to get into product management. There are wonderful professors who have already worked in the industry, have worked in fields very close to product management, who can really guide you on how to get started in this field. And the next thing that I really thought is helpful is that you have a lot of freedom here in choosing what kind of projects you have to do in your courses. So if you are really interested to get into PM and you know that from the beginning of your course, just make it a point that whatever courses you do, whatever projects you do in your courses really align to get into PM. This helps you have a lot of talking points in interviews, and I mean this is what helped me to crack interviews. Most of my interviews have run on the projects that I did here at USC.
Great. Well, thank you very much for a great answer to a rather complicated question. Um, right now, Professor Botwick, if you want to go ahead and I'm going to turn it over to you to talk a bit more about the MS in Engineering Management program in general.
All right, can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Okay. First of all, my apologies for being late. I haven't been well, and medication really makes you sleep. So that's why I kind of slept through. Okay, well, I'm really glad to be able to be here and to welcome our new students. I do have a few slides which I'm going to share in a moment, but in general, I'll be talking mostly extemporaneously because you know you'll see enough PowerPoints of your life, and I think it's probably a lot nicer to be just talked to. So let me share my screen, and my slide should. Oh yes, there we are. Okay, so I've just prepared a few of one, and there was a question about curriculum, and I'm going to answer that in a fair amount of detail. Okay, well, first of all, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome all of you to the Engineering Management Program. It's a program that's near and dear to my heart. I've been the program director for, I'm not exactly sure, I think it was since 2007. So it's like 15 years that I spent with the program. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'll go over the courses and I'll make some initial recommendations. And the main, you'll probably hear me say this several times while we'll talk this morning, is take advantage of the individual guidance that we can provide. We have an excellent advisor for our master students in engineering management, Dr. Morgan Ponder, and get to meet him as soon as you can, and he'll make it be, and he'll be a real valuable help to you in negotiating all the ins and outs of adding courses and selecting courses and advising you in general. And of course, I'm always here. Okay. Then I think I'll spend a little bit of time to talk about what you should expect at being at USC for the next, well, at least year and a half, probably 2 years, maybe even more. Okay, and tell you a little bit about my experiences of doing the same thing. It's been more than a half century since I was exactly in the same position as you are, as a brand new graduate student admitted to USC. The only difference between you and me was that one, it was a long time ago, and second, I happened to be in mechanical engineering at the time. And I'll please tell you about that. And so anyway, that's pretty much what I'm going to talk about today. So let me tell you briefly about myself. This is a picture, and actually a picture isn't quite that old. It's I think it's about 4 years old. So I don't look all that different than you see me there. As I said earlier, I'm the director of this particular program. My degrees are in mechanical engineering. All the graduate degrees I have are from USC, and my original undergraduate was in Manhattan College in New York. I spent 34 years in industry, and the bulk of it with Xerox. That was my last industry employer. I initially designed computers. You may not know it, but Xerox was in the computer business. I spent 6 years at Xerox's research center doing research in basic physics. I spent a lot of time on industrial engineering management, strategic planning, and finance at the very end of my time at Xerox. Then I retired. Oh my gosh, it's I think almost 30 years ago now. And I So I've been with USC for 32 years, which ought to tell you something about what I think about USC. It really grew on me. It was wonderful coming back after having been a student here. And my classes span a wide range, production planning and scheduling, decision-making, statistics, project management, which is not very different from product management, by the way, engineering economy, supply chain design, and currently inventory systems. So I'm very familiar with our curriculum. Okay, so that gives you something. The other thing is I realize many of you are international students. I wasn't exactly an international student. I was a recent immigrant from Hungary. And so if you have a little bit of struggle with English or off and on, you can imagine I showed up here knowing no English. So I learned very laboriously to learn how to say, sorry, I do not speak English. And so just as another aside, okay, if English is your second language, and especially if it's not as sharp as you think it ought to be, then take advantage of being here, of becoming more proficient in English. It's the language of the world, and you really need to be very, very good at it. And I certainly worked at it. I am trilingual, well, sort of. I forgot much about what I learned, but I still speak very good Hungarian, and I used to be very fluent in German, as I did my grammar schools there, and I spoke a reasonable amount of French. So, but that was a good background for learning English. Anyway, that's probably all you'll ever want to know about me. Let me walk you through most of the curriculum, because obviously that is the main reason that you're here. And so let's just go right into it. And the degree is divided into actually 4 sections, right? One is a group of basic required classes, then 2 subgroups, each of which is 1 required class. And then there are choices that you can make beside that. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time just telling you about the 4 classes that form the core of the program. Okay. Now, ISC 500, which says Statistics for Engineering Managers, it used to also be entitled for decision making by engineering managers. And that's the reason for statistics. It's an interesting study by itself, but you or I are not here to be professional statisticians. We're here because we're interested in engineering, and we're interested in management. Okay? So it's both a review of prior statistics that you may have had, and an extension and reinforcement of that, with a real concentration on teaching you how to use that to make decisions in everyday engineering, whether it's actually management or not, or a contributor to an engineering job. I would extremely strongly recommend that you start with that class in your initial semester. It's a required class for one of the subsequent requirements, and so it's good to have that done. It allows you to become familiar with the program, because I'm the one that teaches that class, and I'm the one who developed the class, and I think it's one of the essential skills that you need as an engineer or engineering manager. Okay. I'm going to not take these in order, because I want to hit them in the sequence that I think it's really to your best advantage. Okay. So the other one is ISC 544. It's called Leading and Managing Engineering Teams. It's about how to work together with other engineers. It's how to lead in engineers in teams. So it too makes a major contribution to its product management that some of you guys are interested in. Okay. It is not a mathematical class, so it's a nice counterpoint to IC 500, which obviously is all about calculations and understanding why the calculations and what they're used for. Okay. So those would be the two basic classes I would recommend that you start with. After that, the choice of your third class for your spring, is wide open, and you can start with almost anything except 561, because that's the one that 500 is a prerequisite for. Okay. So what is 561? It's called Economic Analysis for Engineering Projects. That is its main concentration. However, it tells you about one of the very basic things in life, which is money and how to manage it, right? Where it comes from, how to spend it, how to use it in engineering projects, how engineering projects are funded, right? Which is extremely important. You can't have a project without money, right? And so understanding all those aspects is very, very important. And certainly I would do that in my second or subsequent semesters. The other one in this initial group, and there's no reason why you shouldn't take it if you don't want to, but let me go ahead and
I can heat it up if you want.
yeah, before my throat gets too dry here. Okay. So 515 engineering project management could definitely form a third one for this semester. But like I say, I think you should definitely just start with 500 and 544 and then pick whatever you actually want. Project management actually obviously has crossovers to engineering economy, because budgeting is one of the things that's important. Okay, it also has to do with leading people, so there's that. But it's basically mostly about how do you actually manage a project over its lifetime, and it could just as easily be called product management, although that's not its main focus is managing projects, whether it's a particular product or not. Okay. Okay, so that's our basic group. Okay. The other one of the required classes, and it is a wide choice. I don't want to make these slides too busy. So the analytics courses, there are many analytics courses you could be taking. I just picked two of the most popular. My favorite one is the decision-making class. I never actually taught that class, but I've incorporated portions of it in both teaching 515 engineering project management and teaching 544 leading and managing engineering teams. So analytics is one of the hottest topics in the world today. So this is a great exposure to that. It's a great follow-on to your statistics class. Another reason to take it subsequent to your first semester. But at any rate, you look at the whole list of them. There are 4 or 5 of them in that group available, and they all have a basic thing they have to do is basically dealing with data, right? Okay. As you obviously know, over the last 20, 30 years, technology has just overwhelmed the world. The number of inventions and changes in how we actually do things or understand things have turned the world upside down. And so it behooves us to learn something about how technologies are developed, how they're managed, how they're implemented, how you find new technologies to work on. There's 2 or 3 courses available in that. The leading one is ISC 545. That's the one I put there. And clearly, each of these 2 courses are taught by extremely experienced professors. We have Obviously, we have tenure track people in the department. We have teaching faculty in the department like myself, and we have part-time part-time professors who, it's not a very good term for them because they're basically, they're here because they're very engaged in their and work outside USC in all of these fields. They're leaders in their own field, and they've been with this department for some of as long as I have, and so each of these is a wonderful experience with learnings from somebody who has been doing for the years of the things that you want to be doing in the next, well, depending on how long you're going to be at it, but chances are you're going to be at it at least for 40 years. So, so this gives you a wonderful entry and understanding how those of us who have been doing this for a long time actually have managed to do that. If I have time at the end, I'll tell you more about my more detail about some of my experiences. Let me take a quick look at the chat here before I go on. Okay. Oh, that's, let me make sure I just read these quickly so I know how to eventually deal with it. Any resource by which we connect with all of, oh, it's connecting with other students. I actually have a slide on that. The other one asked, I thought about dual degrees. I actually have a slide about that too. So those are right to the point. And are there any prerequisites for the core courses such as software programs? No, there are. Let me start with that one. Okay, so let me go ahead and get this thing out of the way. No, there are no prerequisites for any of these. Now, clearly, it helps to be prepared, right? And so, if chances are that if you're an undergraduate industrial systems engineering student, you probably had engineering economy, okay? And so obviously that would be very helpful in dealing with 561, but it's certainly not required. The assumption in all of these classes is that you come from an engineering background that is not related to engineering management and the topics that we teach, so that each of these can be looked at as an individual class for which your previous education has prepared you in terms of being a good student, in terms of knowing how to study, how to learn, how to be in classes, and that's really all the prerequisite there is. Clearly, you need to have come from a science background of one kind or another. It would be very difficult, to come in here with a degree in English or one of the other languages, or in history or something else. But remember, all backgrounds help us learn to be the adults that we eventually want to become. Now, you guys are already beginning adults, but believe it or not, over the next 40 years, you're going to learn a lot of things, just like I have. Okay. So let me go on to the second slide that I have on the program. And that is, we have tracks that you can actually follow. I listed two of them here. The third one is in analytics. And so you could follow on with more analytics classes. If you're interested in management, there's an excellent accounting and finance class that's in the civil engineering department, but it's cross-listed with ISE. Cross-listing means that it actually satisfies your requirements to it's an ISE class, right? This degree is in industrial systems engineering. Therefore, that's why we require that 18 of your units should be in ISE. It should not be difficult at all, but cross-listing obviously helps this substantially. Okay? So you learn more about management, basically. Okay? Lean operations is about modern managing modern service production and service systems. Right? Many of you will go on into consulting, right? It's one of the most popular areas for people to live, to work in, and that helps you a lot. There's also a consulting class that you can take from the business school. Okay? While I'm on that, right, many of you will be interested in classes in the business school. You can take quite a number of them that are available to you. However, enrollments are limited in those classes, right? So if you're coming from outside the department, you know, begin early, as early as your first semester, but definitely by the second semester, if you want to take business classes in the business school, start trying to get into them, because sometimes it's more difficult to actually find a spot in them. Obviously, anything we require for our classes, we always have enough classes. Most of those basic courses that I just talked about are available in the fall, they're available in the spring, and they're also available in the summer. By the way, summer, of course, is one of the times that you can take advantage of being here and of accelerating your achievement of your degree. The supply chain track is an extremely popular one, as is analytics. There's a technology track as well. So your choice. You should definitely discuss it with your advisors, so you can put together a program that's coherent, that makes sense, right? If none of those tracks actually appeal to you, right, we're certainly very amenable to help you select a set of 3 classes that work together to make you better in a particular area. And that's called a custom track, and it becomes part and parcel of your planning for your degree. Okay. Remember, planning is at the root of all this. So it's not too early to sit down, take a piece of paper or your laptop, and actually put together your program for the whole year and a half, 2 years. I have somebody raising their hand, so let me see if I can see who those people are. I'm afraid I cannot see the participant. So I know somebody who is monitoring this meeting obviously can help you eventually bring up your question. I notice I got a couple more on the chat here. What is the average salary of engineering management graduates? Well, they range quite a bit. We don't really monitor our alumni salaries very closely, so I don't have a set of statistics, but I certainly have indications of what they are. And I'll talk about our consortium later, because there too we maintain some statistics, and I can give you some ideas. But I would say that in general, they're above $80,000. I think a tremendous amount depends on your prior experience. So it could easily go as high as $110,000 when you actually start off with. But the bulk of them are going to be in the 80,000 range, at least over the last few years. Remember, these things change very much over the year. Is there a data track? Yes, there's an analytics track that you can actually work on. So I have, let me make sure I answered that one. I answered that one. Okay. And I will be answering all the other ones I mentioned earlier. Okay. All right. So dual degrees. Okay. I was very much instrumental in helping to establish these. So I can tell you the main objective of these, well, there's two objectives to a dual degree. Okay. One is to make it more affordable in time and money to students. So if you're taking a dual degree program, first of all, you need to be admitted to both. So being admitted to engineering management is not automatic in being admitted into the those other four, one of those other four areas. It obviously helps to establish a record of being successful at USC. And then you get a substantial reduction in the number of units, right? Basically, you only need to take the track in either one of the two. So you wind up with just having to take 48 units, which is a tremendous advantage. And the other reason is to have it because there are those of us who are interested in continuing our expertise in our undergraduate area or the graduate area. It would be difficult to take one of these graduate degree, dual degrees if you're not coming from that field for the dual one. So it helps very much to be a mechanical engineering or aerospace or electrical or petroleum to actually participate in this. To give you an idea, we generally have 4 or 5 students in one of these dual programs in any given semester. So it's a large advantage if that is the path that you would like to follow. Okay, and the vast majority, and those are also all available online. I don't know how many of you are distance students. The assumption, I think, is that most of you in this group who I'm talking to are actually on-campus students and are going to be spending time here in Southern California at USC. The other question I had was student organizations. About 6 years ago, a number of students in our program founded what's called the EMSA, the Engineering Management Student Association. It was originally founded for this degree. However, anyone who's a graduate student in engineering management, in our industrial and systems department, in the department that we're actually part of, are eligible to be part of this organization. We have get-togethers during the semester. We have speeches, talks by prospective employers. They offer students form a very nice cohesive environment, such as a afternoon ice cream socials. That's sort of one of the last ones I went to, and so yes, we definitely have a very live, thriving student organization. Okay, and of course we have a vast network of alumni who are working across the globe, and so you will become part of that network as a student, so you can communicate with those who have already graduated and can tell you about their experiences. Along those same lines, we belong to a consortium. Okay, and I am very much a part of that consortium. We have a board of directors that runs that consortium, and I'm one of the members of that board. I will read you the universities that are part of this particular group. We are last on the list for no other reason than we happen to have our name starts with a U, which puts it near the end of the alphabet. So we have Cornell, we have Dartmouth, we have Duke, Johns Hopkins, MIT, Northwestern, Purdue, and Tufts, and ourselves. It's a very nice group of universities. Each of us has an engineering management program. Each of the programs is quite different from the others. Some of it in size. Duke's program is about, roughly 3 times as large as ours, whereas Dartmouth is less than half our size. Their concentrations are somewhat different, but we have benefited greatly from knowing what goes on in these other universities about admissions, about student quality, about starting salaries. But to you, the most important thing is when you graduate, you become part of the network of all these graduates in engineering management programs. And so it gives you even more of a connection with the rest of the rest of the world out there in engineering management. We rotate twice annual meetings between universities. This spring meeting actually is happening at Purdue. Unfortunately, the last 2 years we've been all on Zoom, and this is going to be the first one since actually spring of 2020 was the last time that we actually met in person at Duke. And when we're at one of these universities, and we hosted this, I think it was in 2015 or 2016 that we hosted the meeting. Then, of course, we have a get together for everybody on all the representatives on a consortium, and of course the local students and local alumni from all these universities. So that's another excellent connection, especially for your future. Okay. All right, let me refresh my memory about the things I was supposed to talk about. And whoever is monitoring the meeting, please remind me if I'm running out of time. Because at this point, we can really stop at any point because the most important things I've already covered. Okay, so what should you expect from being here? Well, you know, you are in one of the world's leading cities in terms of technology, in terms of international renown, in terms of a world-class art scene. Being in Southern California, for me, it was like a dream come true. I came here in 1960 to actually work at a computer company, and I've only left briefly for a 2-year stint at the University of Michigan. I taught part-time at the University of Arizona for a very good reason, because my partner, she was a tenured professor at Arizona, and we commuted between here and Tucson, Arizona. And I've lived, believe it or not, in some of the nicest cities in the world. By living there, I mean being there for at least for the whole summer. That includes London, it's Paris, Madrid, Florence, Rome, Budapest. So I know what the world looks like. I've been to Japan and Thailand and Australia as well. So take advantage of being in Southern California. Take advantage of being on this campus. We have a fantastic program called Visions and Voices, which is open to students free. We have concerts, we have ballets, we have political speakers, we have pop music, we have world-known authors come speak at the university, and there's another that's an opportunity to network with other USC students other than engineering management or engineering. So my experiences of being here for over the last more than a half century are very, very positive. So when I worked for Xerox, we had a local operation here, by the way. At that time, we had 3 factories. I was the industrial and systems manager of those 3 factories, in those 3 factories. And the art scene, we have some of the best museums in the world, especially the Getty. It's if you don't do anything else in your year and a half, visit the Getty Museum. It's just, it cost $1 billion to build, several $1 billion to build a number of years ago. It's simply worth the visit all by itself. It's a little bit slower getting around around the area, because this is a car-oriented environment, but that doesn't mean we don't have buses. We have a subway, we have small light rail trains. You can take a light rail train all the way to the beach, right, directly from campus. There's actually 3 stops on that train ride surrounding USC's campus. So It's not to say you want to be distracted from doing, the other thing I want to tell you, graduate school is not easy, right? Yeah, you wouldn't be admitted if we didn't think that you can be successful. It's part of our job to make you successful at it, right? So be careful how you mix your extracurricular world with your classes. And I certainly expect to spend a minimum of 6 hours in each of those classes outside the classroom. So add it up, right? That's at least 18 hours besides your classes, besides sleeping and all the other things you want to do. So it will keep you busy, okay?
Professor Botlick,
Yes,
I
go
know
ahead.
we did have a student that was curious about housing. I'd like to bring Piyush in real quickly just to talk a little bit about his housing situation.
Fine, go ahead and take over because I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. But
Okay.
I've pretty well said most of the things that I want to say, okay? As many students have found out, I'm never at a loss for words. I can keep talking. But anyway, I yield the floor to whoever is going to do it next.
Go ahead, Piyush.
What was the question?
Oh, if you could just talk a little bit about your housing situation and maybe how you found housing, or anything to do with housing at USC.
Okay, so currently I live off campus on 30th Street, which is really close to USC. And most of the international students usually live in and around USC. The way that I found housing was in general we have a lot of Facebook groups on USC housing. We have a lot of WhatsApp groups on USC housing, and even if you Google housing options near USC, you'll get this list of apartments and list of managements who run housing here. These are your best bets because most of the students you will find live near USC, and it's really better if you don't own a car. It's really better if you live around USC because there's this DPS zone which is patrolled by yellow jackets, and it's really safe to roam around in the DPS zone. Plus, you have free lift.
Great, thank you so much. I also want to add to that do take advantage of our graduate student ambassadors. A number of them are actually current students in engineering management, and I'm sure they would also have plenty of information on their housing situations and how how they found it, and what students and resources they use to do that. As it is, it looks like we're already 2 minutes over. So I would actually very much like to thank all of you for attending, and also to thank Professor Botlick, Piyush, and Ryan for their insights into the program. I really appreciate it. And again, as I said, thank all of you for attending. I hope we will see you as new engineering management students in the fall. So have a great rest of your day or great rest of your evening, and fight on.
Thank you so much. Fight on.